I spent 4 years sleeping on cardboard and plastic on the sidewalks of a city that never noticed me. In 5th grade, I robbed a bank. 2 days later, I woke up with a letter in my hand, written by someone I had believed dead for more than 2 decades. That letter had a single sentence in the first line: "You promised never to expose me." It was as if time had turned back, but without mercy, as if my new life, or what was left of it, was just a gap between 2 abysses. My name is Clara Medina. I am 67 years old. Today, I work in a small community center as a social laundry attendant in San Rivas, a city where time passes slowly, but secrets travel quickly. I wear a white uniform, my hair is always tied up, and a polite smile that hides more than it reveals. Nobody there knows who I was. No one there would know what to do if they did. I live alone in a simple 2-room house at the back of a plot of land borrowed by an evangelical lady who believes that everyone deserves a second chance. Although I have no idea what my first mistake was. I let her think that my daughter died of an overdose, that my husband abandoned me, that my life was just an unfortunate accident. I let them think that because it's better than the truth, and because I also want to believe that maybe I was just an unlucky woman. My routine is disciplined. I wake up at 5, make mint tea, and clean the yard. Then I organize the baskets of clothes, wash the ones that arrive without names, dry them, iron them, and fold them as if they were for my own family. Sometimes I imagine that one of those shirts belongs to my grandson, whom I've never met. I'm sure it exists. I'm pretty sure he hates me. In the city, I am known as Dona Clara de Lavanderia. A man at the butcher's shop always greets me with respect. The girl at the pharmacy offers me free samples of cream for dry hands. Nobody suspects that 27 years ago, I was called by another name, a name that today only lives on in archived cases, old headlines, and now in a letter. It was an ordinary morning until the letter appeared. There was no sender. The envelope was brown, thick paper, folded with military precision. My name, written in the same handwriting I received in a love letter almost 30 years ago. I almost dropped the kettle when I saw that. My heart beat so hard that I had to sit on the kitchen floor next to the stray cat that visits me from time to time. He looked at me as if he knew everything was going to change. It took me more than 2 hours to work up the courage and open up. Inside, there was just a sheet folded in quarters with coffee marks and the strong smell of old tobacco. A sentence at the top and an address, nothing more. I spent the whole day trying to forget about it. I continued folding shirts, sorting socks, smiling at people who didn't know the pain that was hiding in my apron pocket. But at night, as I lay in my narrow bed, the phrase burned into my mind. Like an invisible tattoo, "You promised never to expose me." That sentence could have come from just one person. A man who disappeared the same week I was arrested, who took with him documents, truths, and guilt that were never mine, but that I have carried ever since. A man who knew secrets that could put very influential people in jail, and that, for some reason now, he decided to write to me. The first thing I thought was, why now? Why, after so many years of trying to bury me alive, he decides to remind me of everything? And the worst? Why does he threaten me, as if I still had something in my hands? During the night, I went through old boxes. I found a photo from the 90s. Me, him, and our daughter, on the beach. Me wearing sunglasses and a smile that I no longer recognize. She was 8 years old, hugging his neck. I remember that day, the salty breeze, the hot sand, and the lie that hung between us, that we were a normal family. The address on the letter was in an upscale neighborhood in the city, a place that never suited us. But the most curious thing was the apartment number, 8B. It was the same number as the cell where I spent 3 years for armed robbery. The coincidence did not seem accidental. Nothing in this story was. The next day, a young woman named Camilla, an intern at the community center, told me that she saw a new podcast on the internet. It's about old crimes that were never fully solved. It reminds you of those old bank robbery movies. There's even a woman in the middle of the story. It looks like she disappeared after serving time. They're trying to find out where she is. She said it laughing, as if it were just another story, and I just smiled. That chilled me inside. Did anyone find out? Did anyone recognize me? Is this letter just the beginning of something much bigger? I returned home with my head spinning. I picked up the envelope again. I analyzed the paper, the smell, the fold, and then I realized something that had previously escaped me. I had to an almost invisible line, written in pencil, behind the page. A date, December 4th, 10 a.m. It was 2 weeks away. The place and time were set. My first reaction was to burn everything. Letter, envelope, passed. But my hands didn't obey. They folded the paper carefully. They put it inside an old recipe book, which is hidden behind a false wall in the kitchen cupboard. My body knew what to do, even before my mind accepted it. That night I dreamed about a bench, but not the bank I robbed. It was another, a dark, empty place, where I waited for someone who never arrived. The letter was in my hands, but the words were gone. When I woke up, I could only think about one thing. What if this letter is the key to clearing my name, or to end any chance of peace once and for all? In the mirror, I looked at myself like I hadn't done in a long time. I saw wrinkles that weren't there before, harder eyes but still alive, and I thought, maybe this is my last chance to settle accounts with who I was. If you're listening to this story and believe that no one escapes the past, but that everyone deserves one last opportunity to look in the mirror without looking away, stay. What comes next is not easy to hear, but it's true, too true to ignore. And if you feel that stories like this deserve to be told, subscribe to the Emotion of Age channel. Here, we don't talk about victims. We talk about who decided to react, even if it costs everything. The truth is that this story didn't start with the letter, not even with the bank robbery. It started much earlier, even before my name was Clara Medina. It started in a house without decent windows, with a constant smell of old grease and damp sheets, where voices shouted more than they talked. It was 1968, and I was just another invisible girl on the outskirts of a city that pretended we didn't exist. My mother, Francisca, was a seamstress and an alcoholic in her spare time. My father was a truck driver and disappeared for weeks. When I returned, I brought boxes of expired sweets, choked screams and marks on my mother's arms. She said that's how love was, and I believed. Children believe in everything, especially what hurts. At 9 years old, I learned how to fry eggs, clean up vomit, and not look adults in the eye. At 12, I started selling candy on buses. At 14, a man in a suit told me that I had a way of convincing people. He gave me 20 rays and said that if I went to the city center with a black bag and gave it to another man, he would give me twice as much. And it did. With 40 rays, I bought bread, milk, and new sandals for my younger sister. Nobody asked where the money came from, and I, for the first time, felt like I could change something. At 17, I got involved with a man named Joel. He was 30 years older, drove an imported car, and said I was too smart to live as a maid. He took me to live with him in a small apartment, but with, a full refrigerator, a soft bed, and a color television. In less than a year, I was already taking false documents from one place to another. Then came suitcases, then weapons dismantled. And I told myself that I wasn't hurting anyone, which was just transporting, that I wasn't the one pulling the trigger. It was during this period that I discovered I was pregnant. Joel reacted as I feared: coldness, contempt, threat. I said a child would make me weak, that I would leave traces, that he wouldn't be anyone's father. I fled one morning with 200 rials hidden in the hem of my dress and my belly already showing. I settled in a cheap guest house in a remote neighborhood. There, my daughter, Luna, was born. I chose the name alone on a night when the moon illuminated the only beautiful part of my life. Her face, wrinkled and hungry, but alive. They were difficult years. I worked as a cleaner during the day and sold lunch boxes at night. He slept little, cried in secret, and lied a lot. It said that her father had died in an accident. He said I was just an ordinary woman trying to survive. Until one day, Luna fell ill. A serious infection that required hospitalization and expensive medications. I tried all the alternatives. I took out loans, sold what little I had. Nothing was enough. That's when a man came to me. He said he knew me from Joel's time, that he knew I was discreet, and that he needed someone to enter a bank, act as a distraction. He offered me 5,000 reais. With this money, I could pay for the hospital and guarantee the medicines. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't go in armed. I just walked through the bank hall, dropped my bag, created confusion. Meanwhile, 3 other men were cleaning the safe. I received payment in envelopes. I used every penny with Luna. She survived, and I couldn't leave anymore. Because in the world of crime, when you enter, someone always remembers, Even when you try to disappear, they came back with orders, with threats, with proposals impossible to refuse. And every time I said yes, I lost myself a little more. It said it was for Luna. He said he was a passenger. But the years passed, and I transformed into a woman I didn't recognize. I was no longer afraid of being arrested. I was just afraid of her finding out. When Luna turned 15, I decided to change cities. I rented a simple house in another state. I started working as a manicurist, then as a caregiver for the elderly. I did everything to hide the past. I didn't answer unknown numbers. I didn't have social media. I lied about everything that was before the 2000s. But the guilt doesn't hide. She lives inside us. I would wake up in the middle of the night with nightmares. I saw faces that I didn't remember the names of. I saw Luna's look when I lied. And I heard, inside me, the question she never asked. Who are you, mother? At 20 years old, Luna moved away. He said he was going to study abroad, and it was. He never came back. He never called me again. The little news I had came from acquaintances. She graduated in nursing, changed name. He got married. He had a son, my grandson. I printed a photo of him with his profile closed on Facebook. A child with big eyes who has a feature on his face that I would recognize even in the dark. But I don't have the courage to get closer. Because the day Luna finds out who I was, she will understand everything. And maybe you won't forgive me. And maybe she's right. The greatest sacrifice I made was not crime, nor prison, nor loneliness. It was lying to my daughter every day. He went to smile at her knowing that the lunch money came from a robbery. He went to hold her in his lap after he killed someone by mistake. Because yes, there was a day when they gave me an address and said that I needed to scare a man. But the man was not alone. He had his son on his lap, and an accidental shooting ended 2 lives. I never knew the names. I've never been able to forget. Since then, my life has been divided into before and after. Before, I was a survivor. Then, I became a shadow. I started avoiding mirrors, parties, birthdays, anniversaries. I said I was allergic to noise, but it was fear of being happy. Because deep down, I thought I didn't deserve it, and maybe you still do. When I was arrested years later, it was for another crime, a robbery in which I was the driver. They had cameras. My fingers were on the steering wheel. I didn't try to defend myself. I accepted the sentence as someone accepting a punishment deserved for old sins. 3 years and 8 months. I left older, colder, and determined to disappear from the map. That's when I started calling myself Clara. A clean name, a name without history. Now, with the letter in his hands and the phrase engraved on his chest, all of this comes back like a silent tsunami. Because pain doesn't scream. It whispers every day until you can no longer pretend not to hear it. And I listened. I heard every wrong choice, every lie told, every body buried in silence. But what hurts me most is imagining that Luna, somewhere, still asks who I was. And maybe you still wonder why I lied. The answer, daughter, is simple. Because loving you saved me, but telling you the truth, it destroyed me. And now, after everything, maybe it's time to let the truth destroy whatever it needs to. Because living in the ruins of a truth is more dignified than hiding in the castles of a lie. I still don't know what I'm going to do with this letter, but I know what she did to me. She opened a door that I spent my life trying to keep locked. And whatever is on the other side, I need to face it, even if it's for the last time. That morning, after spending the night staring at the ceiling and reliving every choice that brought me here, I returned to work with the letter hidden in the pocket of my laundry coat. From the outside, everything looked the same. The smell of laundry detergent in the air, the noisy fans turning slowly, the muffled laughter of the younger volunteers. But inside, I was no longer the same. I felt like I was walking through an invisible minefield. With each step, something inside me told me that what was about to happen would never come back. At noon, Camilla, the same intern who had told me about the podcast a few days ago, came to show me a video on her cell phone. She seemed excited. It was a short, viral excerpt from an investigative program. The images showed records from old cameras and newspaper clippings about a group involved in a bank robbery in the 1990s. The presenter, with a slow and serious voice, said that the mystery still hovered over the whereabouts of the only woman involved, a woman codenamed Isabella. On the screen, a facial reconstruction showed what this woman might look like today. I froze. The face was too similar, aged, but still with the traces of what I tried to hide for so long. I pretended not to recognize myself. I laughed with what little naturalness I could force. He said they had already invented everything on the internet. Camilla, he agreed, but his eyes became more attentive, as if registering something they hadn't noticed before. At that moment, I realized that the danger did not come only from the letter. The world was starting to look at me again, and I needed to decide whether to run, as I always did, or face it all at once. I went home and locked the door more than usual. I took the envelope, read it once more, and noticed something I had ignored until then. There was a mark in the lower corner of the sheet, a kind of raised seal, an old symbol, which I remembered very well. He belonged to a group that Joel frequented, a discreet but extremely influential organization behind the scenes of the underworld. If that seal was there, it meant that Joel was not alone, and that maybe I wasn't just being threatened by him either. The next day, I found official correspondence under the door. It was a judicial notice. My real name, Clara Sofia dos Santos, reappeared in bold letters, informing about the reopening of an old case related to the 1996 robbery. A new investigation based on recently found evidence. My entire body went cold. The letter and video were just the beginning. Now, it was real. The state was looking for me. During the days that followed, the community center became a silent prison. Every person who entered, every phone that rang, every look seemed to carry suspicion. Camilla started to watch me frequently. The manager avoided eye contact. Even the butcher, always kind before, now just waved from afar. People smell fear, and mine was already on the air. On Thursday night, as I was walking home, I noticed someone was following me. The steps were calculated, not hurried, but constant. I wandered down streets that only those who live there know. I went behind an abandoned grocery store and waited, hidden among empty boxes. I saw the shadow of a man passing by, searching, looking around. He wasn't a police officer. From the way he walked, his cap, the way he fumbled with his coat pocket, he looked like someone who knew what he was doing. Someone like me once was. After he left, I ran back home, locking everything. That night was sleepless, and the next morning, a new letter appeared in the same place. Short, direct, no signature. It just said, "We're still protecting you, but not for long." Fear mixed with anger, and anger made me turn on the old radio and look for news. I heard an interview with a local prosecutor talking about the reopened case. She mentioned the mysterious woman who had disappeared and said that the victims had still not received justice, that someone should respond. The worst part was hearing the name of the man who died that day. I never knew who he was. I never tried to find out. In the report, they said he was the father of 2 children, that he worked as a security guard at the bank, and that day he had changed shifts so he could watch his daughter's presentation at school. That destroyed me, because once again, the crime that I accepted as necessary for my survival had killed someone who was just trying to live his own life. I tried to seek solace at a nearby church. I went in disguised, sat at the back. There was a lady singing softly. Her voice reminded me of my mother. One of the few sweet memories I have of her is when she sang while sewing. That made me cry, a silent, contained cry, but it washed away years of pain that I never allowed to come out. Late in the afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered without saying anything. An aged male voice simply said, "You read the letter," and hung up. I knew who it was. It was Joel. He was alive and watching me. The game had started, and I needed to decide which piece I would be, the fugitive, as I always was, or the woman who, for the first time, would face everything head on. That night, I opened a bottle of wine that I had been saving for years. It was a gift from a neighbor who had already died. I said I saved it for a special occasion, and I realized that there was no occasion more special than that. Not to celebrate, but to mark the end of an era, the era of escape. I had lived running away from everything, from me, from my daughter, from justice, from ghosts. Now, they were all at my door, and I finally needed to open up. If you've been following this story so far, if something inside you recognizes the pain of hiding truths for so long that they become part of your skin, comment on which city you're watching from. Share this story with someone who, like me, may have spent their life waiting for the right moment to face the past, because that moment never comes. It only happens when we stop running, and I, Clara, stopped running. I thought I was prepared for anything, But nothing prepared me for the week that came after that call. It was as if the city's air had changed density. People looked at me for too long. Cars slowed down as I passed. Doors closed too quickly when I approached. I had experienced dangerous situations before, but this time it wasn't just danger. It was exposure, something I always feared more than death itself. On Monday, when I arrived at the community center, I noticed a strange silence. The reception, which always had low music or someone talking, was quiet. Camilla didn't smile as usual. The manager called me into his office, and for the first time since he hired me, he closed the door. On the table was a blue folder with printed papers. He said he had received an anonymous email with information about me, information from my past, old photos, newspaper news, my real name. My throat dried up. He didn't accuse me of anything. He didn't raise his voice. But I said that, for the security of the institution, I needed to suspend myself until everything was clarified. And he added something that hurt more than any sentence, that he hoped I would have the courage to explain the truth. Courage. That word went through me, because courage was never something I had, just fear. Fear transformed into silence. I left the community center without knowing where to go. My body was shaking. I tried calling Luna. I tried more than once, but she didn't answer any calls. On the third attempt, the call did not go through as busy. It fell as rejected. And that's when the ground opened beneath my feet. I felt like life was ripping everything away from me once. Again. First, the job. Now, my daughter. And little did I know what was yet to come. In the afternoon, as I was returning home, I heard my name being called. I stopped. It was a neighbor across the street, a lady who usually lends me sugar. She held a tablet and showed the screen to me, enlarging an image. It was a social media post from a criminal investigation page. The caption said that the woman in the '96 robbery could be living among ordinary people, using a false identity. The photo was an updated projection, very similar to me. The lady looked at me strangely. He asked if I was okay. He asked if I needed anything. I replied that I was tired and needed to rest. Doors started to close on me, and questions began to arise from all sides. Even children on the street looked at me curiously. The letter in his pocket seemed to burn, as if to say that all of this was happening because I didn't follow instructions, because I opened it, read it, and tried to understand it, as if the punishment for my search for truth was public humiliation. But the worst part hadn't happened yet. Later that night, I received an audio message. 1 minute and 40 seconds. It was Luna's voice, trembling, distant. She said she had received prints from the internet. A friend of a friend sent the link. That, when she saw the facial projection, she remembered something that I always avoided. He said he never understood why I hid from everything, because I never had new documents, social, networks, a normal life. She took a deep breath before saying the sentence that became an eternal wound inside me. She said she was ashamed to be my daughter. When I heard that, I fell to the kitchen floor. I felt my entire body shake. The pain was physical, real. As if someone had stuck a hook in my chest and pulled hard. I felt like disappearing forever. To hand the letter to the wind, turn off the phone, close my eyes and wait for the world to erase me. But the pain didn't erase me. She lit me up, because at that moment, I knew. Nothing else could be worse than losing my daughter. Nothing. And if nothing else could hurt me like that, I no longer had anything to fear. But the final blow came the next day. When I went out to buy bread, I saw a car parked on the corner, smoked glass, engine running. It wasn't from the police. It wasn't a neighbor's. There was someone waiting for me. I entered the market pretending to be natural. While picking fruit, I heard 2 people talking about me without knowing I was there. They said I had been seen talking to dangerous people, that I was a criminal, that maybe she was involved in trafficking, and that the community center was investigating. My world was falling apart in public, and I had nowhere to run. As soon as I left the market, the car started a little and moved slowly alongside me. The window opened, and an all too familiar male voice spoke my real name. The heart seemed to stop. He said he wanted to talk, that if I went to the address on the letter, a lot of things would be resolved. But if it weren't, things would be resolved differently. And then the car took off and disappeared. That night, I received an envelope pushed under the door. Inside was a photo. It was of Luna holding my grandson in her arms, smiling. Behind the photo, a handwritten phrase, say that family was what mattered, and that to protect her, I should follow instructions. This was not an empty threat. It was real. I knew what Joel was capable of. It was the cruelest moment of my life. I had already lost my name, my job, and my peace. Now they were trying to destroy the only love that still kept me breathing. I felt like screaming, to break everything, to take revenge. But in the silence of that small house, I only heard one sentence inside my head, an old phrase, a phrase I said to myself when I was scared and Luna was little. I repeated this quietly, trying to sound strong. And that night, the phrase came back. I said in a low voice, "He arrives." When I said that, it wasn't a rant. It was a decision. It was as if the Clara who had been running away her entire life had died at that moment, and the real woman I always hid was finally ready to face whoever it was. I could lose everything, but I wouldn't lose my soul again, and much less would I let them touch my daughter. If this story is reaching you in any way, if you've ever felt like you've reached your limit and that there's nowhere left to go, comment now. It tells you where you are watching from. Your participation helps this story go further and helps other people not to bear the burden of silence. Stay with me, because now, for the first time in my life, I'm ready to fight. And what comes next will show that no one can be buried forever. Not for justice, not for the crime, not even for his own family. The next morning, my body felt lighter, but my soul carried centuries. It was as if I had aged a decade in one night. Still, there was clarity. For the first time in many years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. The decision was made. I wasn't going to run away anymore. I would no longer remain silent. I was no longer going to accept that silence kept me alive at the expense of keeping me dead inside. The first thing I did was get a box hidden in the back of the cupboard, behind pans I never used. There were old tapes, hidden notebooks, and 2 keys. One was from a safe deposit box at a small local bank, a safe that I hadn't opened since 2003. I kept documents, photos, and a portable recorder there, which Joel forced me to use at a time when I was still part of his schemes. He said it was to protect me, but now I knew. It was to control me. I went to the bank in disguise, cap, sunglasses, face mask. The attendant asked for my identification. I handed in the old one, with my real name. She looked, entered some data, and authorized access. When I opened the safe, the dust of time hit me like a slap. Inside was a black folder and a red envelope. I took them both, put them in my bag, and left as quickly as I could. I returned home with my heart beating like a runaway drum. I locked myself in the bathroom, turned on the shower to muffle the sounds, and began examining the documents. There were bank transactions, copies of contracts with false signatures, and photos of clandestine meetings. But the most impactful was a cassette recording, with Joel's voice narrating details of an agreement made between him and 2 influential politicians at the time. They laundered money from the 1996 robbery in election campaigns, and for that, they used accounts in the names of oranges. One of those names was mine. I was used and then discarded, like always. I knew it wasn't just a weapon, it was a shield. With that evidence, I could show the world that I wasn't the criminal mastermind behind everything. That I was to blame, yes, but I was also the victim of a larger web, a network of corruption that used women as bait, as a distraction, as a human shield. I decided to act. I arranged a meeting with a public lawyer called Teresa, known in the city for defending cases forgotten by the courts. I knew that if I wanted to do this right, I needed help from someone who wasn't afraid to stand up to the powerful. I took the folder, told my story, every part of it, without hiding anything. Teresa listened to me in silence. When I finished, she took a deep breath, held my hands, and said that it was one of the hardest stories she had ever heard, but also one of the most important. She instructed me to record a complete statement. I went to her office, sat in front of a camera, and talked for over an hour. I counted from childhood to the letter. I counted names, dates, amounts. I mentioned Luna. I mentioned the man who died because of me. I asked his family for forgiveness. I asked my daughter for forgiveness. And I made it clear that I didn't want to escape punishment, but I also would no longer accept being the only one to pay for everything. Meanwhile, Teresa filed an official request for a hearing. The prosecutor responsible for the new investigation received the material. There were days of tension, of waiting, of silence, until the following week, and they knocked on my door. It was a prosecutor's team. I was told I had to attend a closed meeting, that the evidence I submitted had been considered valid, but they needed to be checked. I went. No lawyer, no makeup, no fear. In the room, there were 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, all serious. One of them held the cassette tape. He asked me to confirm the voice. I confirmed. It was Joel. They pressed play. And there, on the small recorder in the room, his voice echoed, talking about figures, bank names, transfer dates, talking about me, talking about the day of the robbery, and clearly saying that if I didn't cooperate, I would be thrown to the wolves. The meeting ended with a proposal. They wanted my official collaboration, a plea deal. I would provide everything, and in exchange, my sentence could be converted to community service and restriction of freedom, but without prison. They wanted names, and I had many. I accepted, not for me, but for Luna, and for the boy she was carrying in her arms in that photo, my grandson. I didn't want him to grow up with the image that his grandmother was just a criminal. I wanted him to know that one day she had the courage to tell the truth. The next day, I recorded a short video for an internet reporting channel. I showed up with a clean face. I said my real name. I told him I was part of a robbery, that I lived on the run, but now he decided to tell everything. The video went viral. Within 3 days, it had hundreds of thousands of views, hateful comments, supportive comments, and among them, one that made me cry. It was from Luna. She only wrote 1 sentence. "I see, Mom." That night, hope returned. Still shy, still fragile, but live. For the first time, I didn't feel trapped. I felt whole. And with that came a strength that I didn't remember existed within me. I knew the road would be long, that people would judge me, that the pain wouldn't go away. But I also knew that I was no longer alone. If you're listening to me now, if any part of my story touched you, leave a comment with the word courage, because that's what saved me. Not force, not the money, not regret, but the courage to tell the truth, even if it came too late. Subscribe to the Emotion of Age channel, turn on notifications, share with someone who needs to believe that it's never too late, because it isn't. It never is. The official summons arrived on a rainy morning in an envelope with the letterhead of the San Rivas prosecutor's office. It was direct. I was to appear at a public hearing within 7 days where the evidence I submitted, my testimony and the possibility of a formal collaboration agreement would be presented. The document also said that there would be a presence of the press, observers from the public prosecutor's office, and representatives of victims of the 1996 case. I read those words in silence, sitting at the kitchen table, with my fingers stained with ink from the last batch of pamphlets that I had helped fold at the community center, where I was still a volunteer, even though I was officially suspended. The rain was pounding on the roof, as if the world outside was trying to warn us that truths don't fall softly. They fall like a storm. Inside, everything was silent, but not the silence of fear. It was the silence of preparation. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and said, with no one around to hear, that I was ready. Because at that point in the journey, it was no longer about proving innocence. It was about dignity. And dignity is a truth that no one can take away from us, even when everything around us collapses. In the days leading up to the hearing, I received 2 messages. The first, anonymously via text message. He just said that there was still time to be quiet. The second, more unexpected, came by physical letter, handwriting. It was from Joel. He said he was not my enemy, that everything he did was to protect us, that if I opened my mouth, he would fall too, but that we would fall together. At the end, an underlined sentence, "Family is the one who protects you, even when you make mistakes." That made me nauseous, because he never protected us. He used our lives as a shield for his own crimes. And now he used the word family as emotional blackmail. How ironic. A man who had always destroyed families now spoke of protection. On the day of the hearing, I wore simple clothes, dark pants, light blouse, hair tied up, no makeup, no disguises. I wanted everyone to see my face as it is, marked by time, by guilt, by effort, but firm. I arrived at court accompanied by Teresa, the lawyer who helped me build everything with clarity and strength. There were cameras. Outside, microphones extended, reporters shouting questions. I walked past them without responding. My heart was pounding, but my steps were steady. Inside the room, a central table separated us from the prosecutor's representatives. On the other side, I saw 2 men I recognized from the time of the robbery. One of them today, state deputy. The other, owner of a large private security company. They were pale, and when my eyes met theirs, it was like time went back. I remembered their smiles. Behind the scenes of the crime, I remembered how they talked about me as if I were just an operational, disposable, manipulable element. And there they were now, faced with the truth that I brought. The judge began the session with a formal tone. He asked for absolute silence and informed that all statements would be recorded. The prosecutor called me for the first speech. I got up slowly. I walked to the center of the room. I took a deep breath, and I started. I said my real name, my age, my background. I took the blame for the robbery. I said I helped. I said I benefited. But I also told them that I was used, that I was enticed, that I was silenced with fear and threats, that I lost my daughter, that I lost my identity, but I would no longer lose my dignity. I delivered out loud the details of the false contracts, the names of those involved, the banks used, the dates of the meetings, everything documented in the folders and recordings previously delivered. I spoke with a firm voice, without crying, not for lack of pain, but because that pain finally turned into strength. After my speech, the prosecutor asked for an excerpt from the recording to be played, and there, in front of everyone, Joel's voice echoed once again, describing how he used my name to open accounts, how he manipulated data to embezzle funds, how he threatened my daughter to keep me silent. His face, displayed on a screen, was the face of a man who never imagined that recording would one day come to light. The judge asked for silence when some of those present reacted, and then he called to the stand a man I hadn't expected to see. He was the son of the security guard killed in the robbery, a man with clear eyes and a hard expression. He said he lost his father when he was 12, who grew up hearing stories about a cold criminal who always wanted justice. But when he saw my statement online, he felt something he had never felt before. He felt doubt, and then compassion. He said he didn't completely forgive me, but he understood, and that sometimes justice needed to be greater than revenge. It was impossible to contain the tears, because that man didn't give me absolution. He gave me something even rarer, humanity. He recognized me as a person, not as a label. The hearing continued for another 3 hours. In the end, the judge announced that, given the evidence provided and the spontaneous collaboration, my case would be redirected to a special accountability regime. No arrest, with community work obligation, and a ban on leaving the state for 3 years. It also ordered the opening of a formal investigation against the others mentioned. Those men who used me would now face justice. Finally, when I left the room, the press surrounded me, but it was Teresa who spoke. He said we were facing a rare example of restorative justice, that a woman, considered invisible for decades, had decided to confront an entire system with the only weapon she had left, the truth. Back home, I sat in the backyard, alone. The sky was clear. For the first time in many years, there was no fear in the shadows around me. I got Joel's original letter. I burned. Every piece turned to ash. Then I went to the kitchen, opened the secret closet, took the photo of Luna with my grandson, and put it on the wall, not as a reminder of what I lost, but as a promise of what I can still rebuild. If you've come this far, if you've followed every step of this journey, comment with the word justice. Share this story with someone who thinks it's too late to change their destiny, because it's never too late. Never. Subscribe to the Emotion of Age channel, turn on notifications, and stay with me, because the last step is still missing, the fresh start. 6 months have passed since that day in court. I get asked sometimes if life has changed, and the answer is simple. It hasn't changed. It started again, because what I experienced was neither a victory nor a defeat. It was a slow, silent, but deeply true rebirth. Today I live in a remote neighborhood of San Rivas, in a small one-story house with a garden in front. A simple place where the loudest sound comes from the birds and the laughter of the neighborhood children. It's not a place surrounded by security guards. It is surrounded by peace. Peace that took a lifetime to achieve. My routine is light, but full of purpose. I wake up early. I prepare strong coffee with cinnamon, like my mother did when it was still possible to dream. Then, I organize the books and materials for the literacy project I created for women over 50. It is a free program that takes place 3 times a week at the community library. I teach reading and writing, but more than that, I teach that words heal, that stories don't need to be buried, that shame can turn into strength when shared with those who understand it. End. Some of the women participating already knew me from the news. Others recognized me after starting the course. None left. One of them once hugged me and said that if I could start over, so could she. And in that moment, I knew that what I did wasn't just for me. It was for all of us. For all those who were silenced, humiliated, judged for mistakes that were often choices forced by hunger, violence, the lack of options. Regarding my family, reconstruction is slower. Luna hasn't visited me yet, but send messages. Sometimes he sends photos of my grandson. He's growing up fast. She has her eyes and her father's chin. I only see it through the images, but each photo is a pang and a blessing. Not long ago, she wrote something that brought unexpected tears to my eyes. She said she is not ready to forgive me yet, but she is ready to listen to me. And that, for me, is more than I thought I deserved. Knowing that she is opening the door, even if slowly, is what keeps me going. Time now works in our favor. I also receive letters from people who saw my statement on the internet. Some tell similar stories. Others just say, thank you. And one, in particular, touched me deeply. It was from a boy who grew up in an orphanage. He wrote that he always believed his mother abandoned him out of selfishness. But after my story, he began to wonder if perhaps she was just trying to protect him from a world that destroyed her. That letter was stuck in my fridge for weeks, reminding me that our pains are not unique, and when exposed with courage, they illuminate other darknesses. As the months passed, the city seemed to have forgotten about the scandal. Or maybe you chose to see me differently. The girl at the pharmacy smiled again when she saw me. The butcher asks about classes. The community center manager invited me to coordinate a new project. I accepted, on one condition, that no woman should be judged by what she wore, what she lived, or what she carried in her eyes. He agreed, and I knew I was in the right place. The original letter envelope, the one that started it all, was buried under a tree in the backyard. Along with it, I buried an old chain that Joel had given me, not as any symbolic gesture, but as a liberation ritual. Every night, when watering the land, I silently repeat the same phrase, "Here lies fear." And every time I say it, the fear seems less. I didn't create a new identity. I didn't change my name. Clara Medina is now my real name, not because I was born with it, but because I was reborn with him. Today, when someone calls me that, I feel like I'm being recognized, not hidden. It is the name that dresses me, that represents me, that carries my truths and my choices. And if you're listening to me now, if you've come this far, if you've followed this journey that started under cardboard and went through a robbery, a letter and a truth that almost destroyed me, I ask you, comment here on the word new beginning. This word carries more than 7 letters, carries entire lives. Share this story with someone who needs to believe that time is not an enemy. It's a road, and every curve, every stone, every fall can lead to a more worthy place than the starting point. Subscribe to the Emotion of Age channel, turn on notifications, and help this story reach those who most need to hear that dignity does not depend on the past. It depends on the decision to no longer remain silent, because living truthfully is the only possible path when all you have is courage, memory, and the will not to die lying. Today, I am not an ex-criminal. I'm not an ex-convict. I'm not the woman from the robbery. I'm Clara, grandmother, educator, survivor, and finally, someone who looks in the mirror without having to look away. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from here, it's this. It's never too late. It's never too late to speak up. It's never too late to face it. It's never too late to rebuild, even when everything seems irreversible. Even when the whole world says you are just what they made of you. You can choose to be more. You can choose to start over. And I'm here to remind you of that, always. There was a time when I believed that life was divided into before and after. Before the crime, after prison, before the letter, after the exhibition. But today I understand that true life begins when we stop counting the days that have passed and start building the ones that have not yet come. Life is not a straight line with an end point. It's a circle that closes when we have the courage to look at everything we've been and still keep moving. After everything I experienced, I started receiving invitations to speak at small events, conversation circles, meetings between women. Simple people, real people, injured people. They call me to tell my story, but what happens is the opposite. I go, sit, talk, and leave loaded with dust are everything I hear. A woman told me that she spent 26 years married to a man who called her trash. Another told me that she was abandoned by everyone after confessing that she had handed her brother over to the police. And a 73-year-old woman with calloused hands and eyes full of pain told me that she never told anyone that she had an abortion in the 60s. And only after hearing my story did he have the courage to write about it in his own diary. These meetings show me that the weight we carry only becomes bearable when shared. And more than that, they show me that I am no exception. I'm just one of many, a woman with a past, with marks, with falls. But with enough breath to continue, I started out thinking my story was a warning. Afterwards, I thought it was a warning. But today I understand. My story is a mirror, and mirrors are not used to judge. They serve as a reminder. So I decided to do something different. I created a small therapeutic writing group. We are 12 women. We meet every week. Each one writes a letter. But it's not for someone else. It's for herself in the past. The proposal is simple. We wrote to that woman we went to tell her what she needed to hear, and no one said. Sometimes the letters are long. Other times, they only have 2 sentences. But there is always crying. There is always silence. And there is always liberation. My first letter said so. You did what you could. Don't blame yourself for choosing to survive. But now that you can truly live, choose to be whole. And when I read it out loud to the group, there was no clapping. There was silence. A silence full of respect, of welcome, of truth. And if you're listening to this right now, maybe this letter is for you too. Maybe you are also trying to survive when you already have the strength to live. Maybe you're waiting for a sign, a permission, a chance. Maybe you think you don't deserve it, that it's too late. Who lost everything? But I'm here, alive after all, to tell you that you didn't lose, that there is still a whole woman inside you, even if hidden, even if silent. She's still there, and the world needs to know this version of you that hasn't had the chance to exist yet. Luna, my daughter, remains physically distant, but he has been sending more frequent messages. Recently, he wrote something that touched me in a different way. He said that he is reading my reports, listening to my interviews, and that he now understands better why I left. He said it doesn't justify it, but you understand. And he said something that I keep as a jewel. I see your strength, Mother, and I'm trying to find mine. It gave me a kind of hope that doesn't hurt. It gave me peace. My grandson, who is now 6 years old, sent me, via video, a drawing he made at school. It was a woman with her hair tied up, surrounded by books, trees, and children. The teacher had asked her to draw a heroine, and he drew that. When his mother asked who it was, he said it was the grandmother he hadn't met yet. I cried like I hadn't cried in a long time, but it was a different cry. It was gratitude. It was forgiveness in the form of tears. Today, I also collaborate with a local radio program where I read letters sent by listeners. The majority are people over the age of 60 who want to tell what they have kept their whole lives. Some confess to crimes, others just pain. Everyone wants the same thing: be heard, be recognized, be forgiven. And I try, in my own way, to give a voice to each of them because I know what it's like to live in silence. Teresa, the lawyer who accompanied me, became a friend, more than a friend, journey sister. Together, we created a small legal support network for women at risk. We start with 3 cases. Today, there are 24. We don't have resources, but we have courage. And courage, I discovered, is more contagious than fear. Joel, on the other hand, disappeared. No news, no subpoena served, nothing. But that no longer bothers me, because what he took from me, I rebuilt. And what he tried to use against me, turned against him. Justice is sometimes slow, but when it arrives, it is inevitable. And even if it's not complete, all it takes is for the truth to come to light, for everything to change. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't opened that letter, if it had burned the moment I received it. Maybe it was still hidden. Maybe Luna would never know who I was. Maybe no one hated me, but no one would know me either. And today, I'd rather be known for all my flaws than admired for a lie. If this story reached you, if it resonated in some forgotten part of your heart, comment with the word truth. Truth is what brought me here. Truth is what set me free. Subscribe to the Emotion of Age channel. Turn on notifications. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that stories don't end when everything seems lost. They start again when we choose to continue. And the my story doesn't end here. Because as long as there are women with the courage to speak out, there will be stories to be told. Stories like yours, stories like mine, stories that scream that it is never too late. It's never too late to love, to rebuild, to ask for forgiveness, to start over. It's never too late to be, well, who you were born to be. I'm still amazed at how life goes on, even after everything seems to have been exposed, resolved, or healed. But the truth is that old wounds don't heal all at once. They breathe, and within a few days, they start pulsing again as if they had just opened. There are mornings when I wake up and my body still carries the memory of the cell, the fear, the forced silence. Other times, what visits me is guilt, dressed in longing, wondering what would have happened if I had told Luna the truth sooner, if I had said everything when she was still a girl, with hopeful eyes and an open heart. But if there's anything I've learned these past few months, it's that real life isn't about answers. It is made of decisions, and mine was to follow. Since I started using my real name in public again, a part of society welcomed me, another watched me, and a part still judges me. I knew this would happen. Nothing I experienced was in vain, but nothing was forgotten either. People don't forget headlines, they forget contexts, and even though I have shown evidence, told the truth, faced authorities, there are still those who only see me as the woman who participated in a bank robbery, the woman who deceived her own daughter, the woman who disappeared for decades. And all of this is true, but that's not all I am. I am also the woman who delivers food baskets every week, the one who takes care of bedridden ladies without charging a penny, the one who reads letters from strangers on community radio and responds to each one with respect. I am the one who collects used clothes, organizes silent campaigns, and teaches night classes for adults who have never had access to education. And I do all this not to erase what I did, but to remind myself that even those who made mistakes can make a difference, even those who hurt can help heal, and even those who have lost their way can point the way to others. Recently, I was invited to participate in a public hearing on social reintegration. I was surprised. I was asked to speak as a former prisoner, but I didn't want to use that title. I spoke as a woman, as a mother, as a citizen. I told my story to a room full of judges, prosecutors, social workers, and young college students. I told him without fear. And when I finished, I received a shy but sincere applause. And more important than the applause was the look from a young woman at the back of the room who came to me and said that her mother was arrested, that she was always ashamed of it. But now, after hearing my story, she wanted to visit. I wanted to write a letter. I wanted to try. That was the moment I understood, even more strongly, that our stories are not just ours. They are tools. They are bridges. They are collective healing. And that's why I keep talking. I keep writing. I continue to open doors that were previously closed within me. With Luna, the path remains slow. We speak via messages, sometimes by short calls. We haven't hugged yet. We still don't look into each other's eyes like a mother and daughter should look at each other. But she told me that the boy is curious about me, who already asked why he never saw me, and that she's trying to find the right words to say. I told her she can tell the truth. Don't hide anything anymore, that the lie corrodes the bond. And if he has questions in the future, I'll be here, always. Even if it takes years, even if he never comes, I will be here. The other day, I saw Luna in an online interview about community health. She spoke firmly. He talked about dignity, about care, about emotional reconstruction. And there, on that screen, I saw the woman she became. Strong, Clara, loyal, and deep down, I know that part of it is a reflection of the struggle I also carry. Because even when absent, even if I failed, I loved her, and I still love it. And this love now no longer needs to be hidden. I have written a book. I call it The Diary of Unspoken Words. It's not an autobiography. It's a record of everything that's been stuck in your throat for years. I write letters that I never sent, confessions I never made, events that no one saw. An entire chapter is dedicated to the day I almost took my own life. Another, to the day I saw Luna born. Another, to the day I discovered that the man I loved most betrayed me with the system that crushed me. I write everything as if no one would read it, and maybe no one will read it. But writing is what keeps me lucid. It's my way of sewing, from the inside, the parts that are still broken, If you've been following this far, if you recognize something about yourself on this journey, comment with the word scar, because that's what it's all about. Scars don't disappear, but they prove that we survived, that we've been through the fire, and we're still here. Live, real, capable. Subscribe to the Emotion of Age channel. Turn on notifications. Share this story with someone who thinks there is no going back, because it has. There always is. And sometimes the first step is not to change the world outside. It's changing the way we see ourselves from the inside. And that's what changed everything for me. Today, I no longer live to escape, not even to prove it. I live to serve, to count, to remember that no life is completely lost as long as there is someone willing to fight for it. And sometimes, that someone has to be yourself. Even tired, even scared, even with injured knees, you get up, you speak, and you live. Because living, after all, is the greatest act of courage that someone like me can choose. Today, as I finish recording these words, I look around the house where I live and realize how the small details have gained new meaning. The kettle whistles on the stove, the balcony plant blooming for the first time, the sound of the gate being carefully opened by a neighbor who comes to get fresh bread for her grandchildren. These sounds, these gestures, are witnesses of what it really means to live after the storm, because there is a life after fear. And she doesn't scream, she whispers. I look at the past like someone observing an ancient river. I know I was that choppy water, full of stones, full of mud, but today, I am the shore that welcomes. I am the bridge that crosses. I am the reflection of calm after pain. And it didn't come for free. It came from every choice made with a bleeding soul. It came from every no I said to silence. It came from the yes I gave to my own truth. There is something powerful about not hiding it anymore, not living in the shadow of what others think, in accepting every part of yourself, even the ones that still hurt. Because being whole does not mean never being wrong. It's having made a mistake, yes, and still getting up, still continue, still love. Because love, in the end, is what saves us. Love for yourself, love for others, love for the possibility of a different future. Luna, if one day you hear these words calmly, without anger, without rushing, I want you to know that my greatest victory was not escaping from prison. It was finding the courage to become the woman you deserve to have known from the beginning. I can't change what happened, but I can stay here, firm, gift, true. And if one day you decide to forgive me, I will have my hands open and my heart clean, not to be absolved, but to walk alongside you, even if it is in silence. For every woman who hid, who remained silent, who carried guilt for choices that were made out of hunger, fear, or despair, I leave these words as a shelter. You are not alone. You never were. And even if no one saw your pain, it is real, it is legitimate, and it deserves respect. May you have the chance to tell your story one day, because stories, when told truthfully, are not meant to shame. They serve to liberate. I want to thank each person who has listened to this narrative so far, who had the patience to go through each part with me, every fall, every silence, each slow step towards dignity. You who listened to me, read me, or just felt my pain at some point along the way, became part of it. And even if we never see each other, you helped me exist again. Thank you for holding my hand with your eyes. To the team that believed in this production, my eternal gratitude. To the women who inspired me, even without knowing it, you were my light on days when everything seemed too dark. To those who judged me, thank you too. Because the trial gave me the strength to prove that the truth is more stubborn than prejudice. And she always finds a silver lining. Finishing this script is not ending the story. It's starting another one. It's leaving this record in the world as a landmark, like a seed. Maybe one day, someone will come across this story in a moment of despair and remember that there is a way out, that there is forgiveness, that there is a fresh start, even with wrinkles, even with scars, even with everything lost. Because dignity, that is, can be rescued at any age. The lesson is not about avoiding mistakes. It's about how we treat our mistakes after they happen. It's about how we treat others when we discover their truths. It's about not turning your face away from other people's pain. It's about not allowing the system to continue swallowing those who most need support. It's about turning pain into strength and the past into a bridge. It's about being an example, even broken, even rebuilt. If you are still here, if you have followed us until this moment, comment on the word dignity, because that's what this story wanted to protect all along. Dignity cannot be bought. You don't win. It is conquered. And recover. Every day. Subscribe to the Emotion of Age channel. Turn on notifications. Share this script with someone who perhaps thinks it no longer has value. Show that the eyed, it doesn't turn off. She reveals. And that every wrinkle, every mistake, every loss can be transformed into a path, into courage, into healing. And never, ever let anyone convince you that it's too late. Because as long as there is life, there is word. As long as there are words, there is history. And as long as there is history, there is a new beginning. Thanks. With an open heart and whole soul. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for allowing me to exist again. Thank you for being part of this journey. And if one day this story crosses borders, languages, or oceans, may it carry with it this certainty: the truth sets you free, courage rebuilds, and dignity, even forgotten, can always be found again. It's never too late. It never will be.